This is DD India. You are watching the Defense Dynamics, and I'm Danveer Singh from New Delhi. India conducted a major theatre-level strategic exercise, TROPEX. We'll understand why this is a great strategic significance for India in current geopolitical settings, and why Pakistan-China collusion on strategic level a dangerous reality for India, as indicated by Indian Army Chief at a conclave very recently. Going by that, can Pakistani Air Force going in for the Chinese 5th generation J-35, the latest case in point? India has carried out series of military exercises in its eastern sector near Siliguri Corridor, latest being the anti-tank exercise. And in Syria, the war is yet not over, with reports of fresh clashes between Assad loyalists and Syrian forces, leaving over 1,000 dead. But before we dive deep, take a look at the major global defense headlines. The United Kingdom is to provide Ukraine with Altius tactical unmanned aircraft system. The Altius 600M is designed to accommodate multiple seeker and warhead options while doubling the loitering time and range of current market offerings. It is listed as having an endurance greater than 4 hours. India's state-owned Bharat Electronics Limited (BEL) has completed the deliveries of Swati Weapon Locating Radar WLR Mark I to the Indian Army. Sweden has sent Saab Gripen combat aircraft to Poland in its first out-of-country air defense deployment in support of NATO. This was announced by Swedish Minister of Defense Paul Johnson on March the 6th. The deployment will see the Swedish Air Force contribute Gripens to cover 2 separate air defense missions in Poland. The Indonesian Navy is interested in acquiring Marina Military Assault Helicopter the aircraft carrier ITS Giuseppe Garibaldi C-551. The carrier, launched in 1985, was placed in reserve in October of 2024. The deal could possibly include transfer of some of the Italian Navy's 30 AV-8B Harrier II short takeoff and vertical landing aircrafts. India's state-owned Defense Research and Development Organization DRDO has unveiled a full-scale model of a new short-range ballistic missile SRBM named BM-04 at Vigyan Vaibhav 2025 Defense Exhibition in South Indian city of Hyderabad. According to DRDO, the BM-04 is a canister-launched and features a 2-stage solid fuel propulsion system and has a range of over 400 to 1,500 kilometers with conventional warhead of 500 kgs. Indian Navy's Capstan Theatre Level Operational Exercise TROPEX was conducted over a period of 3 months from January to March. This exercise culminated in early March. The idea was to validate many of the Navy's strategic, operational and tactical concepts of operation. The scale, scope and span of this exercise was mind-boggling. The construct, apart from various aspects of naval warfare, conforming to current geopolitical realities, included an amphibious exercise or the AMFEX in the culmination phase. It's a joint workup phase focused on precise delivery of ordnance on target, cyber electronic warfare, and the tactical phase, AMFEX. Exercise TROPEX was held in a vast area. To understand that, let's take a help of this map. This map, as you can see, India in the center. This exercise TROPEX was held from Strait of Hormuz right down to 35-degree latitude, covering a distance of around 4,300 nautical miles. And when it is to the east and west, it went right up to Sunda Strait and Lombok Strait, covering an area of around 5,000 nautical miles. So 4,300 nautical miles north-south and 5,000 nautical miles east-west was the area in which this exercise was conducted. did anti-submarine warfare, carrier group operations, and various operations were carried out to validate various strategies of the Indian Navy, conforming to the latest geopolitical environment in this region, especially to do with the Chinese hegemony in this area and the constant patrolling that these guys keep on doing. So this exercise assumed importance from that point of view. Now, to understand that what was the force level, so let's get back to our wall. The theater of operation for this exercise involved around 65 to 70 Indian warships. That's quite a huge number. There were 9 to 10 submarines and 80 aircrafts from the Navy and the Indian Air Force. So such a big force operated in this area of 4,300 nautical miles north-south and 5,000 nautical miles east-west.
TROPEX 2025 provided a valuable evaluation of the Indian Navy's ability to respond to multifarious challenges in a synchronized and integrated manner to defend India's national maritime security interests. Set in the Indian Ocean, including the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, the theatre of operations for the exercise extended approximately 4,300 nautical miles from north to south up to 35 degrees south latitude and 5,000 nautical miles from Strait of Hormuz in the west to Sunanda and Lombok in the east. TROPEX 25 witnessed participation of 65 to 70 Indian naval ships, 9 to 10 submarines, and over 80 aircrafts of different types. The exercise achieved a very high level of operational synergy in planning and execution of theatre-level scenarios with other services. It witnessed extensive participation by units of the Indian Army, Indian Air Force, and the Indian Coast Guard. Comprising Sukhoi 30, the Jaguars, C-130, air-to-air flight refuelers, and AVAC aircrafts, over 600 infantry troops, and more than 10 Indian Coast Guard ships. TROPEX 25 marked the successful culmination of an intense operational campaign designed to assess the Indian Navy's operational preparedness and material readiness for combat. And this to reaffirm the Navy's commitment to remain a combat-ready, credible, cohesive, and a future-ready force. TROPEX 25 is not just a military drill, it's a strategic message. The Indian Ocean has become a hotbed of geopolitical contestations with China's increasing presence through its string of pearls strategy, piracy concerns, and growing naval competition among regional and global powers. With the Quad alliance, including India, US, Japan, Australia, the ramping up of naval cooperation and tensions flaring over China's aggressive maneuvers in Indo-Pacific, India's war games in its backyard serve as a reminder of its maritime power projection. With China's aggressive naval expansion, tensions in South China Sea and the Indian Ocean emerge as the next big battleground. India's TROPEX 25 is a clear demonstration of strength, deterrence, and readiness.
The Chief of Army Staff, General Upendra Dwivedi, at India Today conclave stressed the need for India to recognize strong alliance between Pakistan and China. He said there is significant collusion between the two nations which we must acknowledge. In the virtual space, it is nearly absolute. And physically, much of Pakistan's military equipment is of Chinese origin. The two-front war threat is a reality.
What we have to understand, since we are moving from China to Pakistan, that we have to be very clear that there is a high degree of collusivity which we must accept. In terms of virtual field, it is nearly 100%. In terms of physical, if I can say that most of the equipment which is there is of Chinese origin. So during the Russia-Ukraine war, some leader said, I don't want to name it, said that as of today, everything is of a particular setup. The only button is being pressed by a particular countryman. So this is the situation as of today, the collusivity is concerned. What it means, as far as I am concerned, the two-front threat war is a reality for me.
Now I bring this statement of the Army Chief to our discourse to highlight the dangerous collusive nature of Sino-Pakistan relationship. Starting with the building of nuclear bomb to developing nuclear missiles, this sinister union dates back to decades. Now more than 90% of the cutting-edge military hardware is of Chinese origin in the Pakistan military inventory. What should concern many in the region is the tipping of strategic balance towards the Pakistani side, with Pakistani Air Force getting J-35A 5th generation fighters from China in near future. This news, though of last year's December, but assumes huge significance when General Upendra Dwivedi, the Chief of Indian Army, says that two-front war is a reality.
We have our concerns from the northern as well as the western adversary. They are all, both of them are increasing their air forces at a very rapid pace. As far as China is concerned, it is not just the numbers. Even the technology is going at a very rapid pace. We just saw that recent flight of the new generation fighter which they have pulled out, the stealth fighter.
Pakistan is set to acquire 40 of the Chinese much anticipated J-35 stealth fighters. A Chinese media outlet last year reported, signaling Beijing's first export of 5th generation fighter to a foreign ally. The acquisition of 5th generation jets is expected to impact military balance between India and Pakistan, the Hong Kong-based South Asia Morning Post reported. The land-based J-35A made its first public debut a day after the 75th anniversary of People's Liberation Army Air Forces Foundation with a flying show. Compared to China's other stealth aircraft, the land-based J-20 fighter, both J-35 versions are significantly smaller. An estimated 200 J-20s are in service with the PLAF. In the December of 2024, Pakistani media reported that the Pakistan Air Force has approved the purchase of 40 of the aircrafts, which will be delivered within 2 years to replace country's outdated fleet of American F-16 and the French Mirage fighter aircrafts. It was also reported earlier that the Pakistan Air Force pilots had formally started their J-31 stealth fighter training in China. They named the J-31 the J-35. Pakistan Air Chief Marshal Zahir Ahmad Babar Siddu's declaration in January of 2024 that the foundation for acquiring J-31 stealth fighter aircraft has already been laid. Despite Pakistan's dire economic problems, the country has been pursuing the purchase of the new aircraft.
There is no official confirmation in Beijing, nor there is any mention of such a deal in the official media here in India. But speculation has been rampant since J-35, primarily regarded as a jet fighter designed for the Chinese aircraft carriers, was displayed at annual air show at Zhuhai city last month, which was attended by top Pakistani Air Force officials.
A close and a secretive military alliance has existed between China and Pakistan. As it updated its armed forces with billions of dollars in defense spending, Beijing has been assisting Pakistan in modernizing all three branches of the military. China has assisted Pakistan in jointly developing and operating J-17 Thunder fighter jet, the Pakistan Air Force backbone. In recent years, China has provided Pakistan Navy with 4 cutting-edge naval frigates, allowing it to play a larger role alongside its navy in the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean.
The news of Chinese J-35 for Pakistan is still not official. Nevertheless, even if it was true, then also it will not tilt the balance in Pakistan's favor because of the fact that Indian Air Force is pretty strong. It can easily counter Pakistan's potential J-35 purchase because the Indian Air Force has Rafales, it has got upgraded Su-30 MKIs, formidable S-400 air defense system, and AMCA, a 5th generation fighter aircraft which is under development and will also see light of the day very soon. In addition to that, there are advanced radars. Additional fighter acquisition is also in process, wherein we may get 120 odd fighter aircraft quite soon. In addition, we have got electronic warfare and stealth detection system that will maintain superiority. A week-long anti-tank guided missile ATGM field firing exercise was conducted by the Eastern Army Command of the Indian Army in Teesta field firing range on the outskirts of Siliguri. Since the start of year 2025, the Indian Defence Forces have conducted multiple field exercises in North Bengal, especially near the crucial Siliguri Corridor area.
The infantry and the mechanized infantry units of the army carried out this exercise and demonstrated synergy, tactical coordination and battlefield proficiency, achieving pinpoint accuracy during the exercise while firing the anti-tank guided missiles. The mechanized infantry unit demonstrated their firepower skills by launching the missiles from infantry combat vehicles. The exercise was carried out for precision engagement of armored targets using the ATGMs during day and night arrangements over extended ranges in simulated battlefield scenarios, ensuring seamless integration of infantry and mechanized infantry for coordinated warfare. Since the start of 2025, the Indian Defence Forces have conducted multiple field exercises in North Bengal, especially near the crucial Siliguri Corridor area. The corridor, which is often referred to as the chicken's neck, is a strategically important area for the country as it is the slimmest part of Indian subcontinent with Nepal and Bangladesh borders in north and south, and India-China and India-Bhutan borders quite close by. In January this year, the Defence Forces conducted the Devil Strike, an exercise involving the Army and the Indian Air Force. The Indian Armed Forces successfully carried out this exercise Devil Strike, a high-intensity joint airborne military drill near this Siliguri Corridor or the Chicken's Neck from January 16th to 19th. The collaborative endeavour between the Indian Army's elite airborne troops and the Indian Air Force showcased seamless integration, operational excellence and readiness to operate in the most challenging environments.
The exercise focused on validating complex airborne operations, including precision insertions of troop and equipment in hostile terrain. It also tested refined logistical sustenance strategies, ensuring troops remained operationally effective under extreme conditions. The exercise included deployment of advanced technologies and state-of-the-art equipment for precise and efficient delivery of forces to remote locations, execution of synchronized airborne drills that demonstrated unparalleled coordination between the Army and the Air Force, and successful completion of mission scenarios simulating real-world operational challenges. Exercise Devil Strike demonstrated our armed forces' ability to adapt, innovate and operate as a cohesive unit in diverse operational scenarios. It reflects our commitment to maintaining readiness for future challenges.
Considering the political changes in Bangladesh and proximity to China, the armed forces are always on state of high readiness. The exercise hints that the Indian Armed Forces are steadily focusing on Siliguri Corridor and the adjoining international border areas to ensure that corridor continues to be safe. The corridor, which is barely 24 kilometers wide near Siliguri, is a sole transit route that connects northeastern part of India with the rest of the country. Through such exercises, the armed forces also carry out comprehensive evaluation of defensive systems, the proficiency of its personnel, and their adaptability in diverse operational scenarios.
In the Middle East, the war is definitely not over in Syria, and Bashar al-Assad still has his loyalists fighting the Islamists. Fighting has erupted at Syria's Banias gas power plant just hours after country's interim president Ahmed al-Shara urged for peace amid escalating communal violence that has killed hundreds of civilians in the coastal area. Syria's state-run news agency Sana reported on Sunday that fighting broke out with security forces at the plant after an attack by remnants of the former regime.
The Syrian security forces have allegedly killed hundreds of civilians from the Alawite religious minority. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights which monitors fighting in Syria, said 745 civilians in 30 massacres targeting Alawites in the coastal region. The death toll of escalating violence is believed to be the worst since the fall of Assad regime. Speaking from a mosque in Damascus, the interim president said, "What is currently happening in Syria is within the expected challenges."
We used to pray at this mosque amid fear. We left this mosque and went on a long journey. Then we returned again to see these kind faces. Thank God we returned in dignity and you stayed in this country with your heads up. Thank God. I hope that you are reassured that this country contains strength and dignity. What is happening in the country is a challenge and is expected. We must maintain national unity and civil peace in the country as much as we can. We are able to live together in this country as long as the revolution erupted out of these mosques that taught their sons good morals, courage, generosity, and justice. There is no fear in Syria.
Bashar al-Assad was overthrown last December after decades of repressive rule by his family and a 14 years long civil war. The number of fighters killed in the past 4 days brings the death toll to a more than 1,000 people, says the Syrian Observatory. This includes about 125 fighters linked to the new Islamist-led government and 148 pro-Assad fighters. The violence of recent days was sparked after an ambush on government forces in the coastal region. The Syrian Defense Ministry spokesman described it as a treacherous attack against its security personnel, according to a report by Sana State News Agency. It has since escalated into a wave of clashes between Assad loyalists and government forces. Amidst the fighting, hundreds of civilians have reportedly fled their homes in coastal provinces of Latakia and Tartus, which were heartlands of deposed President Bashar al-Assad, who also belongs to the Alawite minority. Alawites, whose sect is an offshoot of Shia Islam, makes up around 10% of Syria's population, which is majority Sunni Muslim. The violence has left the Alawite community in a state of horror. Large crowds sought refuge at a Russian military base at Hememim in Latakia, according to the Reuters news agency. Video footage shared by Reuters showed dozens of people chanting "People want Russian protection" outside the base. Meanwhile, local media reported dozens of families had also fled to neighboring Lebanon. The United Nations Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, said he was deeply alarmed by very troubling reports of civilian casualties in Syria's coastal areas. He called on all sides to refrain from action which could destabilize the country and jeopardize a credible, inclusive political transition.
India is gearing up to face the geopolitical challenges in the region. TROPEX-like joint services exercise and, in the larger sense, the theaterization is the solution to combined Chinese-Pakistani collusion. As the Middle East continues to be volatile and challenge could be from any direction and in any form. India, being a regional power with a strategic interest spreading across from Suez Canal to Malacca, needs to continuously evolve her strategies and always be ahead of the curve. With this, we come to the end of this episode. See you next week with new stories and their analysis. Thanks for watching, and do post your comment on social media with #DD with Danveer. Goodbye and take care.